Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Barclay Hagan, the Director of Client Care for OnPoint, and this morning we have Ganesh presenting with us. In January, AGC released their 2021 Construction, Hiring, and Business Outlook Report, where they took a look at the pandemic's impacts on the construction industry. While how quickly the industry will bounce back fully is still yet to be seen, AGC found that construction companies recognize the important role that IT plays in the current environment, identifying document management software along with cloud technologies as top priorities. With that in mind, we have Ganesh here to show you how the document imaging module that's built into Spectrum can benefit your company's efficiency and help you mitigate risk by having everything in one place. If you have any questions, please enter them into the questions section of the GoToWebinar control panel, and we'll have time to address those at the end. With that, I will turn it over to you, Ganesh.
Thanks, Barclay, and very good morning to everybody. My name is Ganesh Balakrishnan, Spectrum Consultant with OnPoint, and as Barclay mentioned, today we will be taking a look at the Spectrum Document Imaging module. So real quick, just a quick overview of what we're going to be looking at today. We'll take a look at, just chat a little bit about document imaging. We'll take a look at how we can attach some invoices to your Spectrum accounts payable module when you're entering invoices in Spectrum, how to attach documents or images to a job, review reports that include some of those scanned images, and look at how document imaging is used in some of the other modules. And finally, we'll wrap it up with archiving reports and how to search for those archive reports. So I'm going to jump into Spectrum here. So the first thing we'll take a look at is in accounts payable, your process would be to, as you're entering your invoices in the accounts payable module, to scan and attach the hard copies that you would have received in the mail or by email. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how to create a batch of these pre-scanned invoices that we will then use to attach to our invoices as we enter them in Spectrum. So to do that, let's go to Document Imaging, and we're going to click on Batches. And we're going to create a new batch. And we're going to choose the batch type of accounts payable invoices. So I'm just going to hit Enter here. And it sort of pre-fills the description with the date, the time, and my user ID. So I'm just going to append to that here. And I'm just going to hit Enter. And the system will pre-fill all the other information for you. So there's really nothing that you need to do. It'll put it all in the right spots, and you can choose the operator, which is myself, and that batch is created. You hit OK. And I see now that that batch that I created has now been highlighted. And I can now attach over on my right-hand side a file which contains all the different invoices that I have ready to be attached, which I would have pre-scanned previously. So I'm going to go to Browse, and I'm going to pick just my list of invoices, and I'll hit Upload File. And so here we can see, I'll just make this a little bit bigger here. Here we can see a list of all the different invoices that I have ready to be attached to invoices that I create in Spectrum. Okay. So now that I have my batch created, I'm going to hit OK. And now I can go into Spectrum, AP module, and I go into vendor invoices, and I can start to create my invoice and then attach my scanned invoices to that invoice. So I've already created an invoice, so I'm just going to jump to that real quick. So here's my invoice that I created. Okay, so I want to attach one of my scanned images to this invoice. Okay, so I'm going to go here and choose my batch. And here is my batch that I just created. I'm going to hit OK. And so it pulls up a list of all the different invoices that we had attached. And so here's the one that I want. So I'm going to select this, make sure it's highlighted with the yellow border, and I'm going to click this green arrow here to attach it to this invoice. Okay, and I can select multiples if need be, but I just want this one page. Click attach. And now this invoice is attached. The scanned image is attached to this invoice. Okay, so that's pretty simple, not too complex. We create the batch, we create our invoice, and then we attach the image from that batch to the invoice. Okay, and I can hit save. Okay, and I can close out of it. And so once I hit save, the system then removes that page from the batch, and it's ready for me to enter my next invoice and attach the next image to that invoice. So pretty quickly, I can do all my data entry and attach all my images to the appropriate invoices, which makes that process very easy. And those images will now be available if you use invoice approval for the PMs to look at it, or once it's been posted to the job, the PMs can go to the job and they can retrieve that and look at those images, which we'll take a look at next. Okay, so I'm just going to update this real quick. Make sure I picked my right batch. Okay. And I have updated my invoice to the job. So let's go and take a look at that job and take a look at that invoice in that job. Okay, so if I bring up that particular job, okay, so I can come into my cost and hours from my analysis screen, and I can take a look at the history, and I see that I have some invoices here. Okay, so I can then click on AP invoice and notice that I have an image icon or a link that I can click on, which will then bring up my scanned image. Okay, so PMs, once those invoices have been entered in the system and updated to the job, they can come into their job and look under the cost activity and take a look at not only the invoice but the attached images as well. Okay, so it makes it very easy for them to look at all this information. Okay. Okay. So coming back to our objectives, we looked at how to attach invoices in Spectrum. The next thing in accounts payable, the next thing we'll take a look at is how do we attach other documents or images to a job? Okay. And to do that, and this is sort of similar across the board in a lot of the other modules, that on your menu option, you will see a section called Documents, and underneath that, you will see something called Images. So in here, you can come in and you can attach any other kind of documentation that you want to be associated with this job, or as we'll see further on in other modules as well, you can attach information that is relevant. So if I click on New here, I can pick a drawer or a folder out of the folders that are already existing in the system, or I can create a new folder. But in this case, I'm just going to choose correspondence. I'll hit OK. I'll say, just as an example, something to do with equipment. Okay. And I'll say this is an equipment document. And I'll hit create. And then over on my right hand side, I will click attach, and I'll go and find the document that I want to use. Okay, so here I'm going to come in here. And I'm going to pick, say, this one. Okay, and I'll say upload. And now I have my document attached to this job. Okay, and I can hit save. I can close out of it. And if I just jump out of this section and come back to it, I should see my document in there now. And there's the one I just scanned in. So if I select it, it will pull up that document. Okay, so it's very easy to go in and attach relevant images that will then live with this job and then can easily be accessed whenever you need to. Okay. So the similar concept of attaching documents is prevalent throughout Spectrum in all the different modules. So if we were to jump to, say, purchase orders, for example, you can still go into purchase orders, and I have a whole bunch of purchase orders here. So I can click on a purchase order, and if there is a document attached to it, it will show up. If not, I can either pick one from a batch, or I can just attach a single file to that document. Okay. From within a vendor, from within accounts payable, if it's not within an invoice, but I can go straight to the vendor, and let's just say it's something else, maybe compliance related, I can just pick a vendor real quick. And just as we saw in the job, on my left menu, I have documentation and I have images, and I can pick, create a new document to attach to this vendor record. Okay, and you'll see any other documents that have already been attached, either through an invoice or to another folder associated to this vendor. Okay, and same concept can apply to customers, to employees. So document imaging is quite pervasive throughout Spectrum, and so there's lots of places that we can attach documents to the different modules. Okay. So now that we've seen that, let's take a look at some of the reports that include some scanned images. Okay, so this makes it really easy to run some reports. For example, I'm going to just take a look at the job cost history report. Okay, and if I pick the job that I was just in and do preview, it's going to pull up a list of all the history for that job, and it will have links. Wherever you see a link, that means that there is a document attached to it. So if I just click on one of them, it will bring up that relevant document. Okay. If I want to have a copy of all of that, what I can do is I can click on distribute, and it will generate a zip file which contains PDFs of all those documents. Just click on download, and I'm going to open this guy up. And it brings up a zip file with all the documents that are attached to this job. So I can open this up here, and it shows my same invoices. But now I have a soft copy of it if I need to take it somewhere else or send it on somewhere else. Okay. So the system makes it really easy to access these scanned images or to get a copy of them if you need to use them elsewhere. Okay. It even works with time and materials. So if you have a T&M job, you can go to the billing history, and I'm just going to pull up a T&M job here. And if I do preview, same thing, I get a detailed history of all my billings for this job with my links, and I can click on it, and same concepts, system will open up that report for me to take a look at. Okay. Okay. So we touched briefly upon how document imaging is used in other modules. Very similarly, you can go into, we looked at the purchasing, we looked at accounts payable, even accounts receivable. You can go into a customer, and I can pull up any customer, and if I need to attach any images or anything, I can go to documentation. And just as we saw in jobs and in vendors, we can come in here and create a new document record and attach a scanned image to that record. Okay. Okay. So the last thing I wanted to talk about was archiving reports and how to search for those reports. So whenever you update or post information in Spectrum, there is a series of sub-steps that allow us to, that generate information which system allows us to then save or archive if we want to retrieve them or look at them at a later point. So let's take a look at what that process entails and how to execute that. So I'm just going to go back to my accounts payable, and I have a vendor invoice here that I need to update. So I'm going to pull that up here, and I'm just going to update this. And it's gonna try and print the transaction register. So I'm going to hit preview. I'll make sure I have the right batch here. And I'm going to hit preview. So this brings up the transaction register, and this may be a report that I would like to archive to review at a later point. So I'm just going to go ahead and click this archive. And the system knows which folders to put this into. It knows the report name, so there's really not much we need to do here. The only thing we can do or would want to do is to specify some keywords so that later on when we search for it, if we have a specific keyword that we use, it'd be easier to search for it, as archiving reports can generate a lot of different documents. So it just makes it easier to search for. So I'm just going to use the word, I'm just going to say test. Okay, I continue, and that was successful. Okay, so very simple, straightforward. Click on archive, specify your keywords, and it's now archived in the system. Okay, and that concept, so go ahead and complete my post process. That concept is there when you're posting payroll, if you're if you're posting invoices, if you're updating inventory, anywhere in Spectrum where you're going to be updating anything or posting anything, the system will generate these sub-reports that you have the option now to archive. Okay, so once we've archived this, let's take a look at how we can retrieve or look at these archived reports. So for that, I'm going to go to Document Imaging and click on Search Documents. Okay, and I have a whole bunch of different criteria that I can search by. Just to make it easy, I'm just going to use the word test because that was my keyword. Another way you can do it is narrowing down by date or by choosing your user, if you know the user who did it. So I said it's created by me, and I'm just going to use the word test. I'll hit OK. And there's the one transaction register that I just archived. So I'm going to select it, and it will show up on my right side here in my viewer. And there's a report that I found. Okay. If I want to see some other reports, I'll just go back to search here. I'll remove this keyword and I'll just want to see everything that I've done so far, and I'll hit OK. You can see there's a whole bunch of different documents that I created or I archived in the system. Okay, so this can be quite exhaustive. If you remove all your criteria and just hit OK, you can notice that the archive reports can get pretty involved. So it's always a good idea to have keywords in there so you can quickly search and identify the records that you want to look at. Okay. So over time, as you're using Spectrum and as you are getting used to document imaging, we always suggest you take some time to kind of slowly integrate it into your processes, so that it doesn't become too overwhelming. But definitely, the system is designed to help you manage all your documents electronically, so that it's easier for you to retrieve them and view them at a later time. Okay, so that was a quick overview today of the document imaging module. There's a little more a few more tips and tricks as you implement it that you can certainly take advantage of. There's some security things as well that we can take a look at to exert some security measures over who can access which documents if you have any sensitive data. So those are all things that certainly that your consultants or OnPoint will be able to help you with further if you're interested in. But with that, I'd say turn it back over to Barclay if you have any questions or anything like that. I'm certainly glad to help answer those.
Thanks, Ganesh. No questions at this time. So with that, thanks everybody for attending. If you'd like additional information or if you have any ideas of other topics you'd like to see us cover, we're here to help. Please contact us at 877-213-3860 or clientcare@onpoint-software.com. Also, to keep up to date on new resources and upcoming events, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We definitely look forward to working with you, and everybody have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.